All right, today in Flash, we're going to work with the library and we're going to use our frame by frame animation as well as our tweens together. And let me show you how. Take a look. This is kind of a mixture of what we've been doing today as well as what we're going to be learning new. You see my little guy? You see how he's wiggling around? His head gets stuck in the side of the screen there. I'm going to show you guys how I did that. And when we go to our next project, which is the fish tank, I'm going to be expecting you to use this. So on today's Flash project that you guys are working on, just your little sample projects, I want you to use this as well. And so tomorrow we can get started on the fish tank because we use the exact same process. Okay, so I'm going to start a new document. Let me save this, then I'm going to start a new document. Because when you use the library, what I want you guys to be able to see is that you can use libraries from other documents. So this morning, I created this walking guy. You see here in my library, created this walking guy, and I made him into a video clip. I'm going to show you how to do that in just a second. But if I go here to my new document, I can choose which library I use from which document. So if I go to walking guy, I can now drag this little guy out into my new document. Okay, so watch, I'll control enter now, and he's already animated. There he is. Okay, so you can use different libraries from different documents. One of the things that graphic designers do oftentimes in Flash is that they'll make a document just of moving pieces. So if you're making a fish tank, for example, you can make a document, call it fish tank, and just put your moving little fish that move in place. And then when you make your actual fish tank animation, you can then just drag them into your fish tank and they'll already be animated. Okay, so that's one way. So I'm going to delete him off of here and I'm going to make something else. But the first thing that I want to do is I want to get into the habit of actually, as soon as I make a new document, is to save it. Give it a name and save it. So here's my iDrive. I made a folder called Flash, and I'm going to call this one Running Man. So I got Walking Guy and I got Running Man. Okay. So now as soon as I've saved it, now all I got to do is Control S to save it again. And I don't have to go to save as each and every time. But you want to make sure that you get into the habit of saving your work over and over and over again. All right. So here in my library, and if your library isn't shown, you can just go to Window, Libraries, and it should pop up. I think the key command is Control L. I think, I'm not positive. But you'll want to go to your library. And I didn't want to do that. There we go. You'll want to go to your library and make sure you're on the document, or excuse me, you're in the library for the right document. So here, this is Running Man. So I'm going to go here. And let me delete this walking guy off. There we go. So now, to make my Running Man, what I have to do first is just to draw him on my artboard. So I'm just going to use the oval tool. And remember, yesterday, as I was going around to your screens, I saw a lot of people that when they made their objects, there weren't object drawings. You have to make sure whenever you draw your objects, they're object drawings. And here's why. If I uncheck this, and let's say I use the paintbrush, it's going to put this in as vectors, and I don't want that. You see, when you get those white polka dots, you don't want that. All right, so whenever you see that, that lets you know that you've done it wrong. So I'm going to delete that. I actually want my oval, but you'll want to make sure that the object drawing button is on. So I'm going to make my Running Man. I'm going to make his little head. I'll put it right there. I'm going to make his body. Let's say rectangle, make them little, there we go. Got my Running Man. Now I'll make his arms, and I'll use rectangles as well. So I'm going to hold down Alt to drag out a copy, and then I'm going to use the free transform tool to make it a little bit smaller. So I'll bring his arm down like that. Is that an arm or a leg? That's a leg? Okay. So I'll bring his leg like that. Hold down Alt, excuse me, drag out another leg, come on, there we go. Hold down Alt, drag out another leg, drag out an arm. Come on. There we go. Now, here's something that I need to show you. Whenever you click on an object, you'll see a little circle in the middle of that object. That little circle is your rotation point. So if I rotate this circle now, I'm clicked on the transform tool. If I rotate this circle, it's going to rotate around the center point. You guys see that? But when I put that arm on his body, what if I don't want to rotate it around the center point anymore? Because your arm doesn't do that. Your arm rotates at his shoulder. So what you'll want to do is click on that little center point and move it to where the shoulders should be. And now when you rotate, it'll rotate around that shoulder, you see? So that's your, what's called the registration point. So I'm going to make another copy, hold down Alt, and I've already changed my registration point, so I'm just going to move this over and move it over here. Okay, and so I want to do the same thing for these legs. I want to move the legs up to a hip joint like that. Move this one over here. Move it up to a hip joint. And let's see what I got so far. There we go. He's a little skinny with the apple head, but I think he'll work right now. Okay, so now if you notice, I drew my guy in pieces. If you use the brush tool, you're more than welcome to use the brush tool. But when you make your arms, you don't want to make your arms like that. Why not? When you make your legs, you don't want to make your legs like that. Why not? Because it's one object, it's one piece. So when you make your legs, you got to do like this, then you can make a leg like that. Okay, it's two pieces now, so you can move those independent of one another. I just use shapes, which whatever you want to do is completely up to you. But I just wanted to show you that you have to make sure that it's in pieces. Okay, so now that I got my little running man and he's in pieces, I can just drag him over here into the library, and now I can name him Running Man. Now, if by default the type of graphic, the type is on graphic, you need to change him into a movie clip. That lets the computer know that we want to animate him separately as well as on the scene. Okay, so we're going to change him into a movie clip. Click OK. And now I can delete this dude off the artboard because I have him here. Anything that I do to here, inside of the library now, it's going to be updated on my artboard whenever I get there. Okay, so to animate him, all I need to do is to double click on this little movie symbol scene. But watch what happens. My artboard goes away. Okay, and that lets you know that you're not inside of that scene. And in fact, if you take a look here, you'll see it put that little running man with the little movie symbol right next to scene one. So if I go back out to my scene, there's nothing there. All right. So I want to animate this guy individually. I click there, and now I'm inside that little guy's body. All right. Now I can start animating him and giving him a walk sequence. Okay. And you can do tweens or you can do frame by frame. I'm just going to do frame by frame because it's a little quicker. So I got my start. That's point A, F6. Now I'm going to use my little rotate tool. I'm going to rotate his arm like that. When people run, I think their arms run in like that. We'll have his legs move like this. And what does this leg do? Does it out that? Like that? Well, he's dancing now, huh? Okay. Maybe I should have named him Dancing Guy. But let's put in another, let's hit F6 again. Let's put in another frame. Let's see if we can get something a little bit smoother. You can still show your onion skin so you can see where you were before. But I'm going to rotate this up here. Rotate this one here. Rotate the leg. There we go. Up there. And this leg should be where? Down here. All right, let's see what we got. Scrub through. What kind of dance is that? Maybe I should have named him Dancing Guy. All right. So we got a little 3 simple frame animation. You can do as many frames as you want, but now watch what happens. When I go back out into my scene, I can then drag this guy in from the library. And now, when I control enter, there he is animated. If you want to slow it down, instead of 24 frames per second, let's use 12. Control enter, there we go. He slowed down a little bit. All right. So now I can drag out as many of these guys as I want. So if I want to have them in a dance off, okay, you can make as many of those as you want, but Flash sees those as one object. All right. So let me delete this guy off here. And now finally, it's the animation part. Just like you animate a circle, just like you animate a square, you can now animate these characters as well. So here's my start. I'm gonna have them start over here. Well, no, I have them start off the stage. Frame 10, F6, insert a keyframe. I want him to run out onto the stage. Frame 25, F6. I'll have him do a close-up and make sure you guys know who he is. And I'll do tweens in between each of these. So I think for you guys, you can just right-click and go to Shape Tween. But for me, I got to do something a little extra. So let's see what I did real quick. Ooh. Okay. Make sense? Does that make sense? Did it look easy? Did it look hard? Looked hard? Okay. The hardest thing, honestly, guys, the hardest thing is making sure that you're animating inside of that symbol. Okay. And to do that, you double click on it. Now, any change I make to this guy, take a look. Let's say I change the color. Let's say I change his color to something completely opposite. Purple. I got to make sure I change it to the same purple. There we go. I'll change his whole body. You got to make sure you go in and change it on each one. Any change I make to this guy, watch. When I go back out onto the scene, he's changed as well. Okay? And that's the same with any type of animation or anything like that. And again, I can drag these guys out here and they will be animated. Okay? So you can have people running into a house or whatever it is that you want to do. Make them do what? Crack the screen? Like jump through the screen? No. That might take a little too much time. How about this, though? Make them really jump out at you. Okay? So that's what I want you guys to do today. Don't use just a regular stick figure like me, but see if you can make something a little bit more creative. It doesn't have to be all elaborate, but I am going to choose 5 people